I'm the first one to do that. I bet you never knew that. Back like a tailbone. Who you got the tail on? If it ain't about me, about whole D, about face. If you ain't on higher, learn it. The soda in the pot and the fire, burn it. This shit is so dope. You might wanna be my guest. This shit is so dope. You might wanna be
What's up with you? What's wrong? It's hot. Yeah, it's hot. No shit. You need to switch it up. Dude, are you kidding me? You wear the same clothes all the time too. Yeah, but not today. I switched it up because it's hot. You got too many clothes on, dude. Take your clothes off. I do feel a little better now. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Final Fantasy. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy today. Final Fantasy is an action RPG game. Will you shut up? I fuck with that song, though. Good shit. Anyway. Final Fantasy XVI is an action RPG game that has been produced by Square Enix. This game is set on the world of Elistia, a world divided between 6 nations who hold power through access through magical crystals and dominance. Humans who act as hosts for each nation's Eikon. You play as Clive, who doesn't serve each side but seeks answers and power by claiming vengeance. Oh my god. This game. Oh, this fucking game blew me away. This game is incredible. I am already calling it out as this channel's Game of the Year.
No way!
Probably one of the best games I've ever played in a long time. Now, listen, the stuff that you've been hearing on social media about Final Fantasy, sometimes I like to look over that shit because people like to overhype shit. But dude, by me playing this, let's say that the hype is not just real, but they're kind of beating around a bush. They're not going all the way with it. And the reason I'm saying that is because by me playing this game, by me experiencing the story, by me experiencing the combat and the fluidity of just the progression of how this game is going to hand itself to you, but with full punches of expanded material, I was shocked with everything in a great manner. And especially by this game being the first Final Fantasy game to have a mature rated title. Not only did they blow me away of just what they can show us with the full potential aspect of what they can do with a mature rated title, but they went above and fucking beyond. I was shocked in all fine colors with the story, with the progression, the gameplay, the character development. Everything blew me away. So yes, for those who was wondering if they should play this game and they have never played a single Final Fantasy game and they wonder if they should try this one, go ahead and play it. The only Final Fantasy games I've ever played was Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake. And they actually explain everything on this one too, from the lore of all the other Final Fantasy games onto this one. This game is fucking crazy. Let's just get on with it. The game picks up in a fair pace. When it comes to Final Fantasy games and RPGs in general, they have so much lore material when it comes to the story progression that they want to take its time with the pacing of the elemental storyline. And I did not mind that at all. When it comes to a game like this one, Final Fantasy 16, I was actually shocked of how much I was understanding the game and just the potential it came to the creativity of how this game plays out when it comes to people having powers and using it in their own discretion, but not in a way where they can control it in their own manner, but by law, by them being slaves and being traded to use their powers to help people out. For example, them have, like, some people may have fire and people are using them as fucking ovens to heat them up, to cook shit, or just to make them feel better by making them a warm bed. I'm like, what the hell? Same thing with water. If I'm if I'm thirsty, I have a motherfucker who knows how to control water or make water, just make me a cup of water. Same thing with electricity. They can make lightning appear or make electricity happen just in case if the power goes out. People who have powers in this game are introduced as slaves, and I thought that was pretty unique. I'm actually surprised that a lot of stories haven't really tried to go this route. Instead of having people that has powers and they end up using it in their own discretion by taking advantage, they actually have a leash on these people that have these powers. And I thought that was unique. I thought that was a great way for me to be entertained with the game in a whole creative aspect. But that's not really saying much for the Final Fantasy franchise, because they are very good of adding things and using it in their own discretion in a creative manner so we can be entertained, which is the main power of Final Fantasy engines in the first place. Some would debatably say that the story is a little bit lenient when it comes to understanding how things was in the back times, especially when it comes to you using crystals and people are using it in their own discretion in the game. Because a good friend of mine named Matt, he actually pointed this out. When people use these crystals, it's especially people who own these tribes and the nations of Eikons, they like to do transactions and they like to gain these crystals as much as they can. If they are running out of crystals, then that's when all hell breaks loose and they move to different nations so they can obtain more. It's like oil in a way. If you don't have oil in the land, then that's when things get crazy. They use that same aspect as crystals on here. And again, unique, but at the same time, some people can debate and say that that was a little bit of a topsy-turvy feel. But again, no one else has done it, so I'm gonna claim it to them. But as we get introduced to the story, we get introduced to the main character itself, Clive, the main counterbalance of the progression of the story. Are we gonna like his character? Is his character gonna be dull and submissive? Honestly, I was iffy with Clive's character. His character, when they introduced us, he was a little dull. He felt depressed mostly, and I kind of hate that with characters now, because that's all we're beginning to see when it comes to these main characters. So I felt like the only way for me to be convinced is if they show us his backstory of why he feels this way. Why does he feel devastated? And above all, what makes him feel as if he is questioning and doubting his own potential? They explain that here, and they don't just explain it, but they let us play through his backstory to the point where I did not just feel his character, but god damn, I actually felt a lot of shit that he went through as a kid. His personal loss is gonna hit you hard, and I mean Elvin lied, Lucy loses her dog hard. It hit me hard to the point where I did not just feel his character, but I really did feel vengeance. I really did feel the drive of this character, and above all, I felt for him to succeed, and I wanted to keep playing onto the story progression to see how things are going to play out and how the chips is going to fall for this character. I love Clive a lot, and goddamn, it's not like things got better as I got as I was playing this game more, but that's what made the thrill of the game, made me like his character more, because the more he tried to get closer to understand why things happened when he was a kid, but the more shit ends up falling to his lap, making us fear as if he's not going to make it out of this alive. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we're introduced to the action, the main counterbalance of why this game is rated M for mature. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of gore, there is a lot of action, and I'm actually surprised that they didn't really go to this mature rating sooner, because not only did they show people get killed pretty gruesome on this game. I mean, there are decapitations, there's people like literally getting stabbed, and I thought my friend Matt was bluffing when he was telling me that there was a cutscene where Clive stabbed somebody and you really feel the blade on the controller engraving into the person. I felt that too, and I was like, this is really creeping me. out. And it makes sense in a way, because by this game being around biblical times where dragons and dwarfs and all these weird like monsters like ogres exist and stuff like that, it does exist where these people had to experience a lot of death, a lot of judgment, a lot of swearing. There's a lot of swearing on this game, to the point where some people would say it was unnecessary swearing. But if you watch shows like Game of Thrones and Vikings, or any other movies or shows that replicate to this timeline, you would see all that on there onto this game. I did not have no problem with it. In fact, it was actually more relatable to those biblical times as well. The game's combat is very fluid. In fact, so fluid in a way where you can easily get confused of the elemental ways of how you can connect attacks to certain abilities that you get in later progression. And they actually went all the way by adding certain add-ons to your character to make the combat easier. If the combat is too confusing and too over the top for you to the point where you don't know which button to press because the combat is too fast, you can just put like a ring or a bracelet on and the combat will be automatic. I was using that for a short while, but it was getting to get bored for me, so I ended up taking it off. If the enemies are too tough, you can put on a ring so you can counter the enemies in your own discretion in the automatic manner. Now, they have these add-ons in here just in case if people did complain, but the main complaint of this game was the fact that people are comparing this to Devil May Cry. The game is fast-paced like Devil May Cry. In fact, a lot of RPG gamers and hard fans of the Final Fantasy lore was actually bashing on this game and giving this game a low discretional rating, saying that this game is too much like an action game and a hack and slash than an RPG, which is the terminology. I don't want my DMC spilled all over my RPG. But honestly, this game actually feels more like Drakengard if it was updated. Even the character, Clive, looks just like Kaim in a way. I'll show you. Just here. If you look at this, and if you look at this, they look exactly like the same person. They look exactly like the same person. And I thought it was gonna have like a little twist, like they're related in some way, because Drakengard and Final Fantasy, they're two different types of games. Same thing with the Nier franchise, but they all made by Square Enix. So I was hoping to God that this was like Kaim, because I'm a huge Drakengard fan. A man can dream though, right? But honestly, scratch Devil May Cry, scratch all those. It felt more like a Drakengard game. If you have played Drakengard, not the second one, but just the original one, and probably Drakengard 3, it feels like an up-to-date remaster of Drakengard in a way. A lot of people that have played Drakengard will agree with me on that method. And actually, the action pulled me in so well. So much so that, and this is just me fighting the enemies, I didn't even tell y'all about the bosses. The bosses is freaking crazy, especially when they transform, when they begin to mutate and turn into big, gigantic enemies. I really felt like I could lose the battle. Like, I really felt like these enemies can really fuck me up. But that's like my only kind of complaint on the game, is that the fact that since this game is rated infimmature, why not give us no type of finisher aspect? They have finishers on here, like Clive can like stab an enemy, kick them a million times, and they can just fall, they can just fall on the ground and they can just die. But I'm just saying, by this game being rated infimmature, why not we do no like gory death animation and kills, where Clive can cut off people's heads and cut off limbs and stuff. They show that, but just in cutscene, not by in-game. But that will actually win the people to say that this will be a Devil May Cry. People will say that this is like Devil May Cry and God of War, so they probably step away from that and more focus on the mature aspects of the story. So I'll give it a pass on that one. But that still didn't take away from me feeling the fear of these enemies really overthrowing me, especially the bosses. And I do like how they have done the animation of dialogue to these bosses. Each of these bosses are not just threatening and imposing, but they all have their ways of how they can persuade the player by feeling like they have the upper hand. Some of these enemies will trick you, some of these enemies will try to bribe you, and above all, some of these enemies will freaking mock you, especially when they transform and they have the odds stacked against you. And let's not talk about, don't even get me started on the giant boss battles. the giant battles where you actually begin to turn into a freaking huge, gigantic monster yourself.
Oh shit. What is going on here? Really got like Kaioken or something going on? Oh.
Clive!
Holy shit, is that him? What is going on? What is this?
What is this? What was this? It made the game, and I didn't even think that we can go above and beyond this. Now, to be fair, they showed this at the beginning of the game, but I thought this was just something that they would just tease us so they can pull us in so we can enjoy the rest of the game. But no, these big, gigantic boss fights are very great, are very intense, very immersive, and I actually like those more because it shows everything in the atmosphere manner of just how people are going to react when you do fight.
Don't tell me I gotta fight this thing like this. I mean, I don't mind, but that's right. Not this shit again. Oh! Remember, she does that twice. I hate when they shoot projectiles. Rolly on. Then she backed up on his tail. Oh, that's right. Oh, was that my arm? Oh no.
And they don't just show you these fights, they also show you the reactions of people watching you, like what is really going on. It's like you watching Attack on Titan, how Eren is fighting the Warhammer Titan, which is one of my favorite fights of all time. I fucking love that fight with Eren and the Warhammer Titan. It's just something about that really draws me into it. It's the music, it's the atmospheric levels of just how Titans can really brutalize each other, and above all, how it immersed me of me getting glued into the fucking screen. I had that on this Final Fantasy game when I was playing as Clive as he begins to turn into this big Titan beast form. I thought the rumbling was coming again. The graphics, what can I say about the graphics? It's Final Fantasy. It's great. It's beautiful, it's immersive, it puts you in. And what I like about the Final Fantasy games is that they push you into a more obliterating and over-the-top aspect of you being amazed of the graphics and the atmosphere when they put it in its full potential of you being into the fight scenes. When you go to different levels of the game, because this game is an open world, you choose certain areas in the map to visit. But when you go there, you can walk around and you can just see how beautifully done the game is. When it comes to looking at the lakes, even looking at the enemies, looking at the sky, looking at the cutscenes, and even looking at the map itself. The map looks beautiful. Probably one of the best maps I've ever seen in a long while. And it pulls you in even more when you go into these fight scenes, when they show you how these enemies will attack you, how you use counterattacks, and when things get slowed into, you know, to a 0 time frame, and then you just really fuck the enemies up. Normally when it comes to games like this that is fast paced, the frame rate decreases. But I noticed when I was playing this, and when the action was quick and steady and all over the place, the graphics stayed the same. In fact, it pixelated even better in a way. Maybe it's because of my TV, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm only speaking for myself. And let's not forget that when they begin to use magic and summoning abilities, it made the game look even more beautiful, and I was even glued into the screen even more. And let's not forget about the music. You can't go wrong with the music too. The music was great. It was beautiful. There were times where they would play some slow tone, mellow music to let you get synced into the mode of you looking into the atmosphere of the game. And they would like to play some sorrow music when things get bad and when things begin to let you feel in a more of a dramatic, depressed way as Clyde begins to experience certain things, or when other characters begin to experience other things. And above all, when the action comes in, when the battles come in, and when the Titan battles come in, that music. It's like the controller just feels inside of me and I'm inside the fucking game. That's how the music is on Final Fantasy XVI. The music is one of the most important things to me. It's like that with movies, it's like that with anime or anything I'm experiencing. When something happens, you need music to sink in. And Final Fantasy, Square Enix never loses its lane to that. I guarantee you, if you play this, you'll agree with me on that method as well. Overall, this game is fantastic. This game is great. This game is a must-buy, especially if you're just tiptoeing through the fence and you're thinking to yourself, I haven't played 15, so I don't know how the action and the gameplay is going to be. I haven't played 7. I haven't played all of them, so shall I play this one? Again, they will explain everything on the game, especially if you are not familiar with, because I know there's some people who play Final Fantasy, all of them, and they don't understand a fucking thing. Thankfully, there's a certain thing you can do on a game where you can access the story maneuvers of each of them and how they link them to this one. And they do it in a way where it can make sense. I did that. And honestly, I'm more of a visual learner than people explaining things to me. I need to see it for myself. So I do need to play the other ones. But you don't need to play the other ones to enjoy this one. And that's actually sad because I make books. I make novels. That's like me working at McDonald's and serving you burgers and I'm a vegan. Let's get on with the rating. I'm going to have to give Final Fantasy XVI an A+. This game blew me away to an oblivion. I love playing games that is beyond my expectations and I get mind blown. And I did not expect that from Final Fantasy. I knew Final Fantasy was going to be a game that I was going to enjoy from head to toe, but I enjoyed it more from head to toe. I enjoyed it from toe to head to all the way to the point where even my ancestors is probably talking about what I've experienced. Oh man. Oh man. I am sweating up a storm. Oh man. This is actually kinda unprofessional right now. But I'm not wearing my Critic teacher jacket. So I've been unprofessional for a minute. But other than that, this is all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more of my upcoming game reviews and videos headed your way. If y'all want to see the rest of that stream, the link is right here. Other than that, this is Hugo, your Critic teacher, and you guys have a good day.